Chapter 2, Fannie. In Debrecen, I boarded with Papa's brother Ezekiel, a tobacco shop owner, his wife Ava, and their only child, Abraham, 3 years my senior. I studied mathematics, history, science, music, English, German, and French, applying myself seriously, and excelled as Papa wished. On the afternoon of my 18th birthday, celebrating with torte and tea, 2 of Abraham's classmates stopped by. Fannie, this is Max Better and Samuel Freed. Stepping in front of Max, Samuel moved very close to me. I was completely unprepared for the scent of him. The mixture of shaving soap and a musky maleness caused me to hold my breath. I'm told you're a good student, Fannie. Abe says your grades put his to shame. Surprisingly, he reached for and held my hand, stunning and confusing me. I knew I was blushing, but there was nothing I could do to stop it. Removing my hand from his, I managed, "It's nice to meet you too, Samuel." He was very tall and handsome, with deep brown eyes. A small mustache drew attention to this boy's lips, an anatomical focus that, to my recollection, had never before engaged my interest. They suggested a gateway through which I was passing. Polite yet persistent, I felt his presence enfolding me as in a velvet cape, dismissing everything and everyone in the parlor and the world beyond. The following Sunday, with Aunt Ava's permission, Samuel and I walked along Piak Utka, Park Street. We met as often as could be arranged, always in public places or the family parlor, as private encounters were unacceptable for an unmarried girl. Fumbling caresses and kisses in the stairwell, parlor, alcove, or under a bridge at Debrecen's public gardens generated an exquisite ache, but no opportunity to satisfy our desire for intimacy. Then Aunt Ava wrote to Mama. I received Papa's post a week later. Mom and I oppose your involvement with this friend of Abraham's. I am very, very disappointed at your lapse of common sense and intelligence. My plans for your future will not be deterred by a careless flirtation. I'm disappointed you've let this stranger turn your head and attention away from what you've been taught. Your future husband deserves a virtuous, educated woman. Don't jeopardize your life. I didn't reply, and on my next visit home, Papa refused to converse with me. Mama told me he would never approve a marriage to Samuel, who he felt had seduced me behind his back. Fannie, I've never seen your Papa so angry. It's as if a thief robbed him of everything dear to him. Mama, I've not been stolen away. I'm still the same. I'm sorry I caused you and Papa so much worry. I would not discuss a compromise, would not apologize. Neither would Papa. We were at an impasse. Young love is intense with no distraction. The need for each other trivializes everything. Stolen kisses opened my consciousness to an inner self previously unknown. His fingertips, skimming the ribs above my waist, barely touched, tracing the outline of my breasts, caused a heat to rise within me. Drowning in our desire, elopement seemed the only solution. Obsessed with the details and consequences of escape, our daily commitments were unraveling. Abraham found me reading a book in the small park a few doors from the house. Your father is here. You better come quickly, Fannie. He has barely spoken to my parents, and when I entered the parlor, he didn't greet me. He just barked, "Find her!" I hurried back to the apartment. The mountain of a man that is my papa seemed even larger and more imposing. The starched white collar barely contained his neck, which in flushed anger seemed ready to burst the fabric. We're very disappointed. You're casting aside your studies, your life for a stranger who will surely ruin your future. I tried to argue, but Papa wouldn't let me speak, his voice a raspy whisper. I'm warning you, Fannie, if you don't give him up, I'll stop paying for school and bring you home. Think about what you're doing. You tell me he's a man of good character, as of this day I've received one letter of introduction. He hasn't made the trip to Nagikoroyi to state his intention, speak of plans of the future. He has no respect. Papa, I promise I'll finish school, but not that I'll come home to marry a boy of your choosing. I beg you and Mama to think about how happy Samuel makes me. If you're thinking of running off to marry, we will sit shiva for you. It frightened me to think my parents could cast me off, give me up for dead, but I kept quiet and didn't respond. In spite of Papa's threat to end my studies if we didn't break it off, Samuel and I courted secretly for the next 2 years, and Papa pretended not to know. Samuel. Following Max into the house, Abe's mother called us from the parlor. Come in, boys, it's Fannie's birthday. You're just in time for tea and torch. Over Max's shoulder, I watched her approach. In spite of her youth, she moved with a woman's grace across the carpet. Abe introduced her to Max, who I nudged aside, compelled to draw closer. She smelled like apricots. Her eyes were deep brown and met mine without hesitation. She wore no powder or rouge, just a touch of tinted beeswax on her lips. I could barely contain myself, so eager was I to kiss and nibble that gloss from the fullness of her mouth. I tried to be glib, but I'm sure I looked a fool to her. It was difficult to breathe standing so near. Without thinking, I reached for and held her hand, uttering some nonsense. As she stepped away, I allowed my fingers to graze the sash at her waist. It was unbearable. I thought I'd explode. I wanted her, this marvelous girl woman. With permission from Abe's mother, I called on Fannie. We were permitted a walk in the park or a coffee on Sunday afternoon. Then Ava wrote to Fannie's parents about our courtship. Her father was furious. To him, she was a baby. He would not tolerate a romantic interest. Absurd, he wrote Ava. Fannie must not be distracted from her course of study. I wrote to Bruder declaring my intentions, assuring him I would never take advantage of his daughter. We'll wait for her gymnasium certification and hopefully with your blessing become engaged. I received no response, deemed unworthy. We ignored Bruder's displeasure. Parental disapproval cannot deter young lovers who are driven by an inescapable chemical force. Although we believed he would eventually relent, I was in a state of perpetual agitation, unable to sleep more than 1 or 2 hours a night. And at work, obsessed by my longing, I watched the clock all day, completing my tasks in spite of the anguish. All encounters were forbidden. Bruder wrote to his brother and Ava, demanding they offer no encouragement to our liaison. We met at the park, in Debberson's library stairwell, the public gardens. Driven by desire, touching her, kissing her caused an excruciating ache. With no opportunity to do otherwise, we kept to convention. Though ardent, our love was never consummated. Desperate, we began planning an elopement. Somehow Bruder got wind of it and came to Debberson to have it out with Fannie, whose studies were suffering under the stress. I wanted to be present to speak with him, plead our case. Fannie told me Bruder made it clear I was unwelcome. There was an ultimatum, give me up or come home. Underestimating the independent daughter he had raised, Fannie would not concede our love. For Samuel Bruder, that was the moment he knew his influence was lost, his child grown. Bruder's opposition had driven us closer, even more determined to overcome all challenges. Fannie regained her class standing, and her father paid the administrative bills. He gave our love no credence. To his mind, it simply didn't exist. Consequently, there was no problem. Of another era, his own youthful passions had long ago been forgotten. Chapter 3. Fannie. Papa would not dignify Samuel with a correspondence. He commandeered my life through Uncle Ezekiel. I've received a letter from your papa, Fannie. He asked me, demands I close my door to Samuel, and he writes he will bring you home if you continue this defiance. I like Samuel, so don't be angry with me, but I cannot deny my brother's wishes. Until your papa decides otherwise, Samuel is no longer welcome here, can no longer visit or contact you. I'm sorry, dearest. Aunt Ava left me to my own for the most part. Fannie, you're as a daughter to me. You are at a crossroad and must choose your way. I won't pressure you one way or the other, but my advice is follow your heart. Be honest with yourself, and all will work out in the end. I hugged Ava and softly cried on her bosom. There's no turning back. I'll complete my studies as I promised Papa. Then I will marry Samuel. Papa and Mama will allow it by then. I knew my own mind. I knew my own heart. Hadn't Papa always said Hungarians believe to love and be loved is the only reason for life? Samuel and I chose to defy Papa and those who conspired against us. Dominated by deception, my daily life demanded cynicism and dishonesty to navigate, devices I had not known I was capable of. Never before had I lied to Papa and Mama or to anyone else. Not wanting to implicate Cousin Abraham in our intrigue, we never spoke directly to him of our actions. The intense pressure began to take its toll upon my constitution. I lost my appetite, withdrew from my uncle and aunt in dark moodiness, slept fitfully. The burden of our dishonesty weighed heavily upon my conscience. By the end of summer, preparing to enter my last year at gymnasium, an overall discomfort, headaches, and fatigue forced me to take to my bed. A few days later, nauseated and fevered, there appeared flat red spots on my face, hands, forearms, and then my trunk. The spots developed into small blisters filled with fluid. and Ava sent Abraham to the Knezi hospital to fetch Dr. Georgi. Before entering the flat, the doctor covered his nose and mouth with a handkerchief tied about his head. I vaguely remember his presence and examination, but I'm sure he did not palpate or otherwise touch me. Only his practiced eye observed my signs and symptoms. I opened my mouth when instructed to do so, and holding my tongue with a scrap of linen, he thrust it from side to side to visualize the sores within my oral cavity. "This is very serious," he told Ava. "The child has smallpox. The blister's clear fluid will turn into pus. Sores have also developed in the mucous membranes of her nose and mouth. Very uncomfortable. Scabs will form in a week or so, eventually leaving deep, pitted scars when they fall off." And Ava began to whimper. I've drawn the curtains as Fannie complains the light is an irritant to her sight. Restricting light is soothing to her. You should be aware that blindness is a common result of the pox. You are all at risk of contagion. I recommend her immediate admittance to the hospital where several cases, isolated from the public, are receiving good care. There is no cure, but she's young and will likely make it through the crisis. It is known that those who survive the pox are immune to it for life. We can only offer palliative measures, warm tea and cold compresses to reduce the fever, keeping her comfortable. Cover your nose and mouth when in her presence. It's believed the cause is airborne. Samuel. Unable to present myself as a formal suitor, Fannie and I continued to meet secretly. In the shadows under a stone bridge at the public gardens, I kissed her, caressed her torso, held her close to me. Our bodies were on fire, but there could be no relief. As her senior year was to begin, Fannie contracted smallpox. Bruder, hiring a private livery, rescued her from curtained isolation at the windowless end of a hospital hallway. Requesting emergency leave at work, I left for Nagi Karoyi immediately, finding lodging there with a family referred by the rabbi's wife. Bruder, I beg you to let me visit Fannie. Go away, Samuel. She's quarantined and contagious. Returning the next day, Sarah Bruder answered the door. Azuni Bruder, please tell Fannie I'm here. Mama, close the door, Bruder's voice boomed from the parlor. Sarah whispered, I'll tell her, Samuel. I returned each morning, hoping for Bruder's change of heart. Unhappily, the door remained barred to me. Sarah responded to my insistence, pleading with her husband. He's kind and considerate. He's not cowed by or intimidated by your bluster. He wants to take care of Fannie, nurse her at the bedside. This man is begging you to let him see the woman he loves. How can you be this callous? You know Fannie loves him. Perhaps when she recovers and learns you sent him away, she'll hate you. I waited at the butcher shop for the last customer to leave. Please, Bruder, listen to me. My father is a farmer, a simple man who raised me to be responsible and to respect the woman I love. I've completed my education and am apprenticed to one of Debrecen's finest tailors. The master has assured me a promotion to first apprentice by the end of the year, perhaps on my 22nd birthday in December. Fannie and I want to marry, yet you continue to dismiss our love, dismiss me. Our dreams are in your hands. Please, Bruder, allow me to see her. After a pause, he said, All right, Samuel, come tomorrow morning and we'll see how things progress after that. The crisis had passed. Fannie weakly emerged from her malaise. It was expected the scabs covering her face would leave deep craters. To keep from scratching at the wounds, her hands were wrapped with bandages. In the little bedroom above the kitchen, Fannie rested comfortably on the white featherbed of her childhood. With no space for a chair, I sat on the floor beside the bed, reading poetry and speaking of our future, all the while gently washing the crusty scabs with warm water. Each evening I spent a few minutes speaking with Bruder, hoping to win him over. After 10 days, I returned to Debrecen. At parting, Fannie said, Papa said you might make a good husband after all. As for Sarah, she was convinced that my love alone had cured the pox and healed her daughter's face, on which only a few fading scars could be seen. Even with the favor of Fannie's youth, 4 months of complete bed rest was necessary before she regained full vigor. In the end, she didn't return to gymnasium for certification. For the next 2 years, I made the 2-hour train trip to Nagi Karoyi every Sunday. That's it.